evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is the November 8th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
First up is appeal number 2018-053, William Wilson, 163 8 Bells Road, Riverhead, tax map number 600-13-2-4.1, RA 40 zoning, for variances and or relief from chapter 301, section 9A1C, where the proposed deck setback is 15.9 feet and minimum required is 20 feet. Section 11, where the proposed impervious surface is 21.4% of the lot area and maximum permitted is 15%. Where proposed front yard setback is 30 feet and minimum required is 50 feet. Where proposed rear yard setback is 28 feet and minimum required is 60 feet. And where proposed side yard setback is 20 feet and minimum required is 50 feet. Affidavits, please.
Good, affidavits?
I have them.
Yeah? Okay, if you kindly raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Kindly state your name and your address.
Brett Mauritia, 157 Halleck Street, Riverhead, New York, 11901.
You have the floor.
She read it out to you. The house that's there now is approximately around 1,600 square feet. The homeowner wants to put up a new home that's energy efficient, up to 2,397 square feet. And, you know, these lots over in Reeves Park, if you know Reeves Park, none of them are conforming at all, so we always need to get a variance before we do something.
So you're removing the old,
Removing the old house, yes.
right? And the house and entry is only got 1,677 square feet?
Mm-hmm.
How many bedrooms is the current house?
2.
And how many bedrooms is the new house gonna be?
Four? I'm sorry, I apologize. You had 4, it's gonna be 4.
The existing house is 4,
Yes,
and how much is the new gonna be?
4.
4?
It's not an oversized house, plus he's under the impervious.
So you're increasing it by 800 square feet
That's it.
approximately.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, I don't have, anyone else have any questions? Leroy? Nope. Anyone else?
No.
Anyone in the audience have, any comments on this, application? No? Okay. Let's have a reading.
I move that the appeal of William Wilson, 163 8 Bells Road, Riverhead, Suffolk County Tax Map, number 600-13-2-4.1, RA 40 zoning, for variances and or relief from chapter 301, section 9A1C, where the proposed deck setback is 15.9 feet, and minimum required is 20 feet. Section 2, where the proposed impervious surface is 21.4% of the lot area and maximum permitted is 15. Where proposed front yard setback is 30 feet and minimum required is 50 feet. Where proposed rear yard setback is 28 feet and minimum required is 60 feet. And where the proposed side yard setback is 20 feet and minimum required is 50 feet. Be granted in accordance with the applications and sketches with amendments thereto, if any, as filed with the building inspector.
Second.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye?
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So the appeal's been granted. In approximately 2 weeks, building department, continue on with the project, best of luck.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appeal number 2018-054, Joseph Calabresi, 28 Beach Road, Laurel, tax map number 600-71-216, RB 40 zoning, for variances and or relief from chapter 301, section 15A1B, where a shed under 144 square feet is 0.9 and 1 feet from property lines and minimum required is 5 feet. Section 15A1C, where shed 8.3 by 12.3 feet is 6.6 and 9.4 feet from property lines and minimum required is 10 feet. Section 222E, where proposed pool setback is 8.167 feet from the property line and minimum required is 10 feet. Proposed deck setback is 9.42 feet from the property line and minimum required is 10 feet. Proposed rear yard setback is 37.83 feet and minimum required is 40 feet. And proposed additions increase gross floor area within the required rear yard, representing an increase in degree of nonconformity of a pre-existing dwelling which is not permitted.
All right, take a breath. Kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and your address, please.
Michael A. Kimack, P.O. Box 1047, South End, New York, 11971.
And you are?
I'm an agent for the applicant, I'm also an attorney.
Okay. You have the floor, go ahead.
It's a rather compact lot, about 12,500 square feet. The existing house on it, setback in relation to the other houses pretty much. The activity that we're asking for is to replace the existing deck that's on the southeast corner of the house in kind on a square footage with habitable space in line with both the southern part of the house and the eastern line of the house. There are two existing sheds on the property which is referenced under 301-15 and 301-15A and 301-D and C. They are existing as-builts. One's about 50 square feet, the other one's about 100 square feet. They are non-conforming to the setbacks, and we would like to be able to keep them in place. The proposed pool setback lines up with the back of the existing garage that we propose to change into a pool house. And basically, the area between the house and the proposed pool would be basically taken up by the proposed rear deck, essentially, which would tie the pool together with the back of the house, back to the pool house, and up along the northern part of the house. And there is also an existing outdoor shower on the property in the back section over there that we would like to also have remained. If you look at it visually, all of this activity pretty much is behind the house. It's not visible from Beach Street, from Beach Road, etc. like that, and it's pretty much hidden. It's a very compact little spot, but unfortunately, because of the size of the lot and the activities, all the variants are required in order to fulfill the desire of the owner. Any questions of me?
Oh, I think there'd be a few.
Generally are.
Well, you mentioned the pool house, and then you also called it the garage. Is that one and the same?
It had been, yes, sir, it is.
How do you get back there? There's no driveway going back there.
At one time, it had been, there's no driveway to it. It's, basically, at one time, it had been a garage, and they basically converted it primarily into an as-built area. There's no, I believe that it's 2 floors, there's an upper deck on top of it, et cetera like that. There is no living space in it. There is a half a bath that's in that particular pool area right there, and essentially want to be able to have for pool house activities down below and then storage above.
So you're saying the pool house in the back, the proposed pool house,
Yes, sir.
it just has a bathroom?
Yeah, half a bath.
Because it says on the survey it's a 2-story frame dwelling.
That was changed. There's an updated survey basically for a proposed pool house on it.
Okay, and then it says to be converted to pool house, so what's there now?
It's a finished as-built, finished on the inside, sheetrock with a half a bath, first floor and second floor.
So that's it, that's all there is a half a bath, no kitchen?
No kitchen, no nothing.
No facilities?
No facilities, just a half a bath.
When you refer to as-built, what do you?
I use the term as-built existing, in essence. I'm so used to using that terminology, basically, for other places. When you say as-built, primarily people refer to it as in place, existing.
Was it previously permitted?
It was previously permitted, if you look at the note on the disapproval, it received a letter of pre-existing in 1995
For
as a legally detached garage, basically.
So it's been converted
so a
without a
garage,
permit?
so it was, right,
That's what we're talking
that's
about?
what I'm asking.
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay, so you'd like to legalize that?
Yes, sir.
So if it was typically as-built would be something that was legally pre-existing, but that wouldn't qualify, right?
Yeah, it had been approved as a garage. The leading up to it, basically along that side, was taken out. It's all grass right now. There's no driveway going to it at the present time. And it had been converted after the fact into space, but it's not living space. There's nobody living there. It's just usable space for
So
recreation.
my question is, it wasn't legally converted,
No,
that's all. So you're not claiming any pre-existing status in that
No.
structure? Okay.
fessing up. Is it clear to everyone exactly?
Is there a way to gain access to that
Sure,
upstairs?
sure,
You'd make it available to us?
absolutely.
Okay. And we could see that there's only a bathroom in there, there's no kitchen,
No,
no
there isn't.
microwave, nothing?
Nothing, just a half a bath.
Okay.
Nobody's renting out the place.
No.
Did they?
Pardon?
Did they rent it out?
I am not privy to that information. I was only brought in on this perhaps about 3 months ago to do the permit.
Is the owner here tonight?
Mr. Calabrese? We have not met, apparently not.
So there's no Mr. Calabrese in the audience?
There is no Mr. Calabrese in the audience.
So he sent you here, but he's not here,
That is correct.
okay?
I would be here anyway as the agent for this application, under any circumstances.
Well, I think
Sometimes my clients
we'd like
come,
to ask him some questions under oath, I think. And if you're not aware of all the things that may have transpired in the past.
I am not, basically. I've
so
only
we would
been
like to
involved,
ask him, the property owner.
I've only been involved with this project literally for the last maybe 3 months or so.
Okay.
Sir, I'm sorry, I asked the same question again.
Sure.
There is no kitchen in that pool
No
house?
kitchen. No.
Have you been in there personally?
I've looked in the window, I've looked in the door on the first floor, just when I was on the
But
site.
you didn't go upstairs to see if there was a kitchen, so
No,
you're just going
no, at
based
that
on what he
particular
told you.
time, I was on there staking it out, taking the photos, which is standard for
Okay.
that, but I looked inside to see what activity was there. I didn't see, and actually the half a bath is under the staircase going up to the second floor. So I wasn't quite
I
sure.
think there's a little more activity than maybe you're aware of that goes on there.
I cannot address
It
that.
appears to be a guest house.
No kitchen and a half a bath. Generally, that doesn't normally apply for that kind of activity, but that would be for, Mr. Calabrese to address.
Yes. I'd rather ask the owner. Are you aware that it's been listed on VRBO for a summer vacation rental?
No.
And you know why I didn't ask?
I mean, I would imagine that, that particular home, like most places, could be rented. I mean, in a sense, yes. I'm not aware that it had been listed. I'm not aware it had been used as a rental. That was not my responsibility.
Well, with all the changes they wanna make, it'd certainly be up for being a rental, that's for sure.
Well, the property gets posted, the neighbors become concerned, and you find out what goes on. And certainly, we'd like to know and have some answers, but I would rather directly examine the owner.
Fair.
And speak with that person.
Fair.
So, I'm gonna ask Mr. Chairman here if you can ask to have the property owner at the
Yeah.
next meeting.
We definitely need the property owner here next meeting.
When is the next meeting?
December, what is it? 13th.
Oh, good, I'll be back.
Going away?
Yes, I go to Cuba
Oh, good, nice.
Are you here in January?
every 8 weeks.
Oh.
So do you want it in December, or do you want it in January?
December 13th is fine. I'll be back on the 4th.
Okay,
And
thank you very much. Is there anyone else out in the audience to be heard on this matter? Mr. Buck, I would think. Please, step up.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Buck.
Okay, well, hold on 1 second, Jerry. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God?
I do indeed.
Kindly state your name and your address again.
My name is Gerald Buck. My permanent address is 8559 Chevy Chase Street, in Jamaica Estates, but I do have a house on Beach Road, number 12. So I'm 2 doors down from the Calabrese house. Maybe I can shed a little more light on what exactly that garage was, became, how it was altered. The previous owner was Dale Lyden. She had illegally altered the garage, adding a second floor and a second floor deck. And then she decided to sell, but in order to sell, she had to legalize the garage and what she had done. And I believe your records show that around 2007, there was a certificate of occupancy issued for an altered garage with storage above. It makes no mention of the deck. It makes no mention of the fact that there is no garage door or any means of getting a car in there, but it was given a certificate of occupancy as a garage with the caveat that there would be no insulation and no sheetrock done, and only minimum electric done. And I believe that's in your notes from the building department.
Sure, do you have that?
Then it was sold to the Calabrese family.
What he's talking about?
And as I told you in my
Your
2
letters.
letters, there was an ongoing immediate problem with
Rental?
transient rental. And over the course of a couple of years, that garage now has a kitchen and a bathroom. And it is finished and it's used as a guest house. And I'm sure,
Well, we were there, and that's our opinion too.
Yes.
I mean, we can only go as far as we can go
That's
without
right.
going in the place, but,
but there is a kitchenette in there,
okay.
Have you been
and
in
there is a bathroom.
Have you been there yourself personally to see
I'm
it?
sorry,
Have you seen it yourself?
yes.
Okay, that's good enough. How long ago did you see it, Mr. Buck?
There was a meeting, the Block Association on his deck, I think it was back in July, June. And their next door neighbors were actually in the place, and he showed them around and claimed that there was a separate septic system for this bathroom. I don't know whether that's true, but that's what
Well,
was.
based on your correspondence, I would believe that the building inspector will look into that. I hope he does.
Right, and then in terms of the proposal, my second letter, I think it's woefully deficient in a lot of information that we as interested neighbors would be looking for. There's no elevations, given what's proposed, I would think this would qualify as a substantial improvement.
I don't disagree with you. Have you been to the building department to look at the application and the file?
Yes,
And there are no plans on file? No elevations on file?
no, I see nothing with floor elevations, elevation certificates, or, documentation in terms of what the market value is of the structure as it exists, how much is going to be spent,
Well,
and
that's in the
and
floodplain.
I'm sure you know all of the things that kick into effect. So, I suspect the house might have to be raised.
It may.
It very well might, and that's another variance that could be applied for.
Not
But-
by us.
Well, according to the building code, it says that a variance could, but if,
It still has to be FEMA compliant.
I don't even know what kind of swimming pool they're proposing. Is it an above-ground pool?
It appears to be an in-ground,
15 by 30.
15 by 30.
15 by 30 is a large pool,
Yes, I realize.
and the property floods. So there's that consideration. it floods substantially.
Okay.
We almost had a storm as good as Sandy. So, that's where we
I see their
are.
compressor's elevated, so they started to bring things up a little. Okay,
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Buck.
well,
Thank you.
Anyone else to be heard? Step up. If you kindly raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
State your name and your address.
Joseph Calabrese, 28 Beach Road. I'm the owner of the property.
okay.
Took me
That's
3.5 hours to
talk
get here, so please
That's
excuse
okay,
me for
we
being late.
understand that.
So we had a couple surveys that were different, but it seems one's older, one's newer. The pool house that you wanna convert, on the survey it said, the old survey, it said two-story frame dwelling.
Right.
So, if I go upstairs, what do I find?
It's a finished, it's a finished space.
And what's in there?
It's
Is
a
there a
lot,
kitchen in there?
no, there's no kitchen in there. It's a lot of storage and,
So,
Bathroom?
there's a half bath on the bottom floor,
downstairs,
downstairs.
so there's no rooms up there, there's no beds, there's no physical furniture,
No, there's furniture inside, yes.
okay. But there's no kitchen,
There's no kitchen,
no kitchenette,
there's no kitchenette.
okay. Alright, can we have access to that?
Sure,
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
so when you have some available dates, can you call our secretary, Carissa,
Yeah, sure.
and we'll try to,
Have some
a
of us
couple
down there.
members go out and take a look, and we're gonna see what goes on.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, great.
Are the weekends okay, or is it during the
Weekend,
week? No, during the week. Alright, so I'll have to take off of work and reach you out.
You
Is
can always leave the key.
Has that structure ever been rented, as a rental?
No, it is not, never.
Never?
Never, not once.
So it's not on VRBO?
It's not a VRBO.
How about the property as a whole?
My property has been rented, yes.
So when you say, when I said rental, is the main house rented?
The main house has been rented,
It has,
yes.
but the back structure hasn't?
Never, not once.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So do you have on VRBO the listing for the house?
Yes,
Okay. And so you wanna put a big pool in, a large pool,
yeah.
and you wanna put a lot of decking down, and you wanna put an addition on.
Yes.
And are you gonna live there, or is this gonna be a rental?
No, this is our summer home. This
So
is,
when do you rent it?
we rent it when we can't go. My parents live in Massachusetts, my wife's parents live in Wisconsin. If we go out and visit them, then we'll put it up for a week or two. We've rented it, I've had the house for 7 years. I think every year we've rented it less and less and less as we could afford it more and more and more. When we first got it, we couldn't really afford to not rent it. We rented it quite a bit. That was 7 years ago.
Have you ever filed or inquired about a rental occupancy permit from the town?
I know that we pay taxes on our rentals, and we submit all of our income to the county. And my wife takes care of it, so I wasn't,
You mean for hotel tax?
again, I don't wanna say she's not here and she handles it, and I didn't think I was coming here to talk about our rental program.
Well, it's important.
Well,
Okay.
obviously you don't have a rental permit and you never have. I take it.
I gotta say, I don't know for sure.
Well, we need to find that out. I mean, we could ask the code enforcement office, if that's where you would file for your rental.
Okay.
permit.
Sure.
The minimum rental period in the town of Riverhead is 30 days, so you can't rent for any less than 30 days.
Okay.
So you can't just rent it out for a week.
Mm-hmm.
Or a weekend.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, the pool in the back, I think I heard somebody say 30 by 15, that's, I don't know where that figure came from.
Right in front of us.
It's on your site plan.
It's on your site plan.
That the pool's gonna be 30 by 15?
That's what it says.
Well, who's doing all this work for you?
My architect, Mark Schwartz.
And you told him it's a 30 by 15 pool?
No, that's
Popped
too
up.
big. It's not gonna fit. It's probably more like 22 by 12. Pretty small pool,
Why don't you come on up
considering.
here and take a look at one of these plans, sir?
So where did the architect get these dimensions from?
I don't know, that's pretty ambitious, that sounds pretty ambitious.
Well, the size of those decks are pretty ambitious too.
Yes, they are. See it at the top?
Oh, 30 by 50. Yeah, it's not gonna be that big.
Well then, why don't you come back with a,
It'd be much smaller. I mean, the extension that I'm proposing in the back basically just takes over the deck that's already there, so it's not more lot coverage. And then my deck that I'm proposing is an extension only in the back of the house where nobody's even gonna see it, that would lead to the pool.
okay, well, we can't guesstimate what you want. We need,
So if
You
this
have to do
survey
some new
is not
drawings.
accurate, yeah, if this survey's not accurate, we need an accurate survey of what you're presenting to us.
To make a new application, or modify the
amend this
application.
Yeah, you're applying to us with
Cause all
case,
the variances that you're asking for are different than what you're saying
Yeah.
you'll be needing.
And also the proposed deck that's running north and south there on the back of the house, that's not on the back of this house.
The proposed deck,
That you have here that abuts the pool.
Yep.
You show the house, the deck that you're, gonna cover with a roof deck, but this proposed deck is all brand new, this,
yeah, the proposed deck is brand new.
well, you just said you weren't extending the decks or something like that.
No, the extension that I'm
The
putting on the
extension
house
is putting on is gonna
is,
remove the deck.
is this it?
over the deck, so then I
Yeah,
will
no,
no
that-
longer have a deck in the rear. So I will be, therefore I'll be adding a deck in the back of the house instead of having this one on the side.
okay.
Alright, but
Well,
if-
again, you're gonna have your architect draw up some new plans.
Accurate, an accurate survey, yeah.
I mean,
I
the
mean,
pool is gonna be that big.
Well, you see, you posted it legally, and it shows descriptions and sizes and lot
Yeah, right
coverage. If you're gonna put a small space, it's gonna change the dynamics of the survey, so that we know whatever we approve, it would be based on the latest survey applied for.
I mean, I think he was honestly making, you know, a guesstimate from, I mean, he's not the pool guy, you know, he's the architect.
I mean, a typical
We
pool
can't
16
deal in
by,
guesstimates.
Yeah, okay.
a typical pool is 16 by 32, that's
You can
your
keep that.
average pool.
I got a feeling.
So I think what you need to do is at least, I don't even know, the last survey, Carissa, that Brad based his setbacks on, I don't think he did it on this, cause this is a site plan not done by a surveyor. So I would think you need a surveyor, cause this is a site plan.
I did have a survey done.
Okay. And so the surveyor needs to provide that information. Let's see where that survey is.
This area here, he's gonna be the, it's gonna be the new extension,
But again,
It's gonna be covered.
proposed addition.
you know, again, it doesn't show everything, you know, on your survey. You know, you're missing a pool, you're missing your decking.
But the survey is an existing survey, no? Or is it a proposed survey?
Well,
I don't
it's an
know, this is
existing
what you gave us.
survey, but
But you're proposing a 30 by 15 pool, according to this site
That's a
plan by
site
your
plan
architect.
done by a design professional.
Yeah.
A surveyor has to show and depict the dimensions of the proposed uses and structures. So, this is not sufficient unless Brad decided he accepted that, I don't know. I haven't talked to Brad. So that needs to be clarified with your design professional and your surveyor.
May I
then we
ask a
will-
question while we're on that?
sure, hold on a second,
It's not unusual,
just,
go ahead.
hold on. Okay, go ahead.
It's not unusual for an architect to take a surveyor's work,
Absolutely, I know that.
reference it primarily, and then use it as a site plan, which was done in this case.
Correct,
But
but
the
this is an
client's
area
disagreeing with his
variance.
own architect's site plan.
That I understand, but if we have to make changes can we make changes utilizing the architect's reference to the survey and making it on that site plan?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, this is, the survey provided the existing survey,
Exactly.
the survey, right.
And the-
So
and the architect took
is gonna
that-
be proposing what they're
Exactly.
asking for, yeah.
So if we're making changes, we will simply make it off of that site plan. I believe that, part of the application, I believe that I did submit the elevations for the house, that was part of the overall application, it should have been in the file.
You did.
I think you're gonna have to review that with the building inspector,
Yeah,
see if he'll accept that.
They're very sketchy.
Well, if we're making changes as Mr. Calabrese suggested, I think what's probably going to occur is that the building department will have to submit the revised site plan, and the building department's gonna have to take a look at it, because
They're gonna have to,
if he's making a smaller
another
pool, if
denial
he's making
letter.
a smaller pool, we may no longer need a variance, because we may be
you
this
still
side
need
of,
a variance.
this side of the 10 feet, so in essence, some things will change. So he may have to issue an amended disapproval based upon,
Correct.
for a small pool, with that amended
That's why it has to go
disapproval,
back.
that'll give you an opportunity to have an observation of what's inside the proposed pool house. And then at the present time, I suggest we don't set December 13th until we have a chance to get all this done.
So you wanna do January?
It would appear so only because, Mr. Calabrese has to get together with Mr. Schwartz, make those changes on the site plan.
All right.
I have to resubmit that site plan to Brad primarily. Brad's then gonna issue another disapproval, hopefully with one less, because I think looking at it quickly, the pool is probably gonna be off the agenda. That'll give you an opportunity to get together with Mr. Calabrese and visit the pool house to assess exactly what's inside on that situation, and then go from there. I mean, it seems to be the better pathway.
Okay, good.
You need to ask the building inspector a direct question.
Okay.
Will he accept the architect's site plan as opposed to a survey done by a licensed surveyor?
He did in this case, because all of those setbacks were off of the site plan by the architect, not by the
Okay,
surveyor.
if he's willing to accept it, then I have no problem, but
I'll double check to make
I
sure.
would ask him directly and be
No,
clear.
I agree.
Well, the surveyor is providing what's existing, the architect is providing what's proposed.
Yeah, and
So
normally the
I
architect
don't have a
uses,
problem with-
yeah,
with
as
seeing
long
what
as,
the
I'll double
architect's
check with
proposing.
Brad, but
Yeah.
generally
Yeah,
that's
conflict.
the normal way of doing it, for the
Yeah.
most part,
Conflict.
yeah.
All right, Mr. Buck, anything else you have to, say?
No, I just like.
You have to talk at the mic, sir. Mike,
Sure. Please. Well, we can pick you up.
it's a moment in the spotlight.
No, I think that you can see that there's changes to be made and a lot of information that's missing. So I'm assuming that will happen
Never assume, Mr. Buck, but we'll do our best to get to the bottom of it.
for the next submission,
All right.
okay?
So we're gonna put this off until, January 10th. So do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Can I just unless Mike, you know exactly, I mean, for me, the biggest
Can
thing
you go
is-
back to the mic, please, Mr. Calabrese? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it unless you guys have any further questions for me.
That's it.
I know
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to move this, adjourn this until January 10th?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mr.
Wait,
Barnes,
I might have it.
Aye.
Mrs. Worthington,
Aye.
Mr. Seabrook,
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
Yeah, I have it, yeah.
Yeah, I have it.
January
No, I
10th.
got it, okay.
January 10th, I have to come back from the office.
Yeah, yeah.
I know, yeah. Clarissa.
Next is appeal number 2018-055, Dominic Roselli, northwest corner of Middle Country Road and K Road in Calverton, tax map number 600, 115.1-1-53, RB80 zoning, for variances and or relief from chapter 301, section 31, for proposed proposed front yard setback is 40 feet and minimum required is 60 feet, and where proposed rear yard setback is 50 feet and minimum required is 75 feet.
Good evening, Mr. Cuddy.
Good evening.
Excuse me, but was that your dad that was, that just passed away? Was, I saw a Cuddy in the book. Well, then I have to give my condolences. Nice to see you, Mr. Cuddy. Continue.
That wasn't me either.
Oh, good.
I'm still here. This is one of those problems again where we have a small lot and a big zone. It's the 2-acre zone. The site is, K Road and Middle Road, or State Road 25 in Calverton. This lot is a little over half an acre. It's a 2-acre zone. We want to keep the house as far away as we can from Route 25 for the obvious reason that that's where the traffic is. So we put it at the north end of this lot, and that requires some variances because the lot is not that wide in itself. It's about 128 feet wide where the house is. So we do need 2 variances. We need a front yard variance from 60 feet to 40 feet, and we need a backyard variance from 75 to 50, and having a fairly average-sized house. It's a residential area, so certainly the neighborhood is not going to be impacted adversely. Environmentally, building a single house is not going with water, public water is not going to, again, impact anything adversely. The alternative is to turn the house around. If we turn the house around, we still need a side yard variance, but we'd also be facing State Route 25. So basically, it's substantial, but it's substantial because the code, it requires us to come to you when we have a half-acre lot in a 2-acre zone.
So they don't wanna count the cars going by on Route 25?
They would prefer not to.
The only problem I see is with the survey, it says Key Road, not K Road, I don't know if
Yes,
it's.
I saw that.
Yeah.
He was keyed up for this deal, I guess, but no, it was, well, yes, we're sorry, I apologize for that.
That's okay. Is there anyone else to be heard on this matter? No one? All right, Mr. Cuddy, always good seeing you. Thank you.
Nice to see you, thank you.
Anyone on the board have any other questions? Who is the reading? Shoot.
I move that the appeal of Dominic Rossetti at the northwest corner of Middle Country Road and K Road in Calverton, tax map number 600-115.1-1-53, RB 80 zoning for variances to and relief from chapter 301, section 31, where proposed front yard setback is 40 feet and the minimum required is 60 feet. And where the proposed rear yard setback is 50 feet and the minimum required is 75 feet. Be granted in accordance with the application and the sketches with the amendments thereto, if any, as filed with the building inspector.
So moved.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
And I vote aye. And again, Mr. Cuddy, thank you very much. You know the process. Best of luck with everything.
Good luck.
Not until after,
We read
but
it.
we're gonna do it at the end.
Appeal number 2018-057, Gulfport Development, 101 Longview Drive, Wading River, tax map number 600-2539, RB 80 zoning, for variances and or relief from chapter 301, section 31, the proposed lots are 24,397 and 24,717 square feet, and minimum required is 80,000 square feet, where proposed width of lots is 100 feet, minimum required is 120 feet, where proposed front yard setbacks are 50 feet, minimum required is 60 feet, where proposed rear yard setbacks are 50 feet, minimum required is 75 feet, where proposed side yard setbacks are 20 and 25 feet, minimum required is 30 feet, where proposed combined side yards are 45 feet, minimum required is 65 feet, and section 243C3, where proposed lots are 24,397 and 24,717 square feet, which are less than one half of the required lot area, as the minimum required is 40,000 square feet.
Good evening, council. You have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the zoning board of appeals, it's good to be here tonight. I have with me, Mr. John Breslin, who's going to, step up as an expert witness, and Mr. Golfo is here. This is a, dual application for the subdivision and for judicial expediency. We also, worked with the building department to get building envelope, so should the zoning board be inclined to grant the relief for the subdivision, the building department, Brad Hammond, suggested that we put in also the relief for the side yard, rear yard, front yard, et cetera, setbacks. So without further ado, I'm going to have Mr. Breslin come up so he can go through some of the Town Law 267B criteria. I know Mr. Breslin's been here before. I'd like him to state his curriculum vitae, and if you would be so inclined to accept him as an expert witness.
Evening, Mr. Breslin. Kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and your address.
My name is John Breslin. My business address is 44 Elm Street in Huntington. I am the principal and president of Breslin Appraisal Company, situated at that address. I have been in the practice of real estate appraisal full-time since 1979. I have testified as an expert in real estate-related valuation matters many, many times in both zoning and land use matters, as well as in court actions. I have appeared before this board on several occasions, as well as the town board here in Riverhead, and all of the other zoning boards and town boards on Long Island, as well as testifying before all of the courts, the Supreme Court, Surrogates Court, and the federal courts on Long Island, and in lots of matters. I was requested by the applicant to study this proposed application and give opinions with respect to the impacts in connection with the state standards under 267. And in doing that, of course, I was provided with the application materials, reviewed them, inspected the subject property in the surrounding neighborhood, did some research with respect to values in the immediate community. As Mr. Walter indicated, the applicant and the call of the meeting suggested, the applicant is proposing to subdivide this particular property into essentially 2 half-acre lots. Each lot would have 24,390 square feet, and they will each have 100 foot in width along the west side of Longview Drive. As the board, I'm sure, is well aware, to the west of the subject property, it abuts the Little Flower campus along the entire length, running from the Sound all the way down to Wading River Road. So that there are no neighbors, if you will, to the west of the subject property. The subject subdivision includes lots that are similar in size to the subject and lots that are smaller. So specifically, when you look at the properties along Longview, if you extend from Cedar on the north down to Peach on the south, on the subject side of the street, not counting the subject, there are 17 other lots or properties. On the easterly side, there are 14 properties. On the subject side, all of the lots are basically the same size as what the applicant is proposing. They are all basically 100 foot in width, and they are all approximately a half acre in size. And the only difference in the size is related to the depth of those lots. The shorter ones are approximately 200 feet deep, and the largest ones are about 250 feet in deep. The subject lots are 242 on the northerly boundary and 248 on the southerly boundary. So the subject lots are in probably on the larger side of these lots that exist on the westerly side of Longview. On the easterly side, you have 14 lots. 12 of those 14 lots are significantly smaller than what the applicant is proposing. They would be characterized more as quarter-acre lots. There are 2 half-acre lots on the corners, both at the northerly corner of Cedar and then at the southerly corner at Pine. The one on the northerly one runs sideways across from Cedar and runs east-west to the next corner. And then at the bottom at Pine, there's another one, a corner that's a half-acre. The ones in between are all quarter-acre lots. So what the applicant is proposing are lots that are not only consistent with the pattern of development, in fact, they exceed the size of the lots across the street from an area point of view. Those lots, the quarter-acre lots, are all similarly roughly 100 foot in width. So it's very important when you look at that under the strictures of 267. Is it going to change the pattern of development or the character of the neighborhood? Clearly it's not. It's completely consistent with the pattern of development. The other is, can the applicant do what he's contemplating doing without receiving relief from this board? The properties onto both to the north and the south of the subject are developed with similar half-acre lots. So the applicant can't develop it, subdivide it into the half-acre lots that he's looking for without relief from this board. Also, what's noteworthy is, as was discussed by the prior case, is this is another one of the areas that was blanket rezoned into the low-density zoning area. But however, the lots that are in this area were all built and developed not by virtue of this zone, the 2-acre zone. They were all developed more in the half-acre or quarter-acre zone. And that's clearly evident when one looks at the tax map. So these lots, as contemplated, and all of the lots in this area do not conform to the existing zoning. None of them do. They're all substandard lots. So that these lots, although they're technically substandard, they do conform with the neighborhood pattern. In my opinion, they're certainly not going to have any adverse impact on surrounding properties or values of surrounding properties. This lot, if it was to remain at its current size, would be the lot that would be out of character. If you look at the development pattern and the size of the lots, this lot is glaringly larger than those that are on the block, both on the east or west side. It sticks out essentially like a sore thumb. The other thing is, from a valuation point of view, the applicant purchased this property already. I believe he paid $160,000 for it unsubdivided. And the economics of such would not work for him to build a house and sell it for any number that would make any sense, given what the sale prices of the properties are in this immediate, on the block. There have been, I believe, 4 recent sales on the block that range from $275,000 to just under $400,000. And the applicant, if you build a new house on that, the numbers are not going to be able to be favorable to the applicant. Whereas if he was able to build 2 houses, he would be able to build houses that would comport with the neighborhood pattern of development. Of course, I'm excluding those houses that would be on the water or have water view. That would be a completely different situation. The land is level. Requisite utilities would be available. They're large enough to comply with the requirements of the health department. So by developing the properties as contemplated, it's not going to have any environmental impacts. Obviously, any development would have to go through the engineering and building process so that they would meet all of the requirements under the state building code, as well as the town's engineering and development process, so they would be complicit with that. The other question is whether or not the variances are substantial. And clearly, from a mathematical point of view, they are substantial. But when you look at them in relationship to the other properties around them, they're not. Because the development, as proposed, is exactly the same as what everybody else has. These lots will be the same as their neighbors. So when you look at the mathematics of those lots versus the subject, I don't believe it's substantial as it relates to one another. The other is it self-created? And clearly, technically, it is self-created, but you're a board of equity. You're here you're the release valve. You're here to grant relief for applicants, to weigh the benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to the surrounding properties and the community. In this case, by allowing 2 homes on half-acre lots, I don't believe that there's any detriment to the community because you're creating new homes on lots the same as the neighbors, or in some cases larger than the neighbors. But the detriment to the applicant would be very substantial, because he's already, acquired this lot. So I think when you weigh those considerations, I think that the relief would come out in favor of the applicant in this particular case. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Well, let's start off with Mr. Breslin. We definitely recognize you as an expert in your field, and we'd just
Thank
like to get that.
I guess I should have stopped before I testified, in case you said no.
Anyway,
Thank you for that.
ladies and gentlemen, you got anything?
Well, I also want to add to the application if you don't mind.
Sure. We don't mind.
So I'm glad that I had Mr. Breslin go first, because he took care of half of my notes. I want to draw your attention to a couple of things. When you look at the master plan, it's my view, and I'm probably uniquely situated in that I helped draft part of the zoning for the master plan, and then as town supervisor, implemented the master plan for 8 years. And I look at the master plan as a sort of a unique situation here, in that I believe that this application completely complies with the master plan when you look at section 8. Section 8 talks about maintaining housing stock. It talks about maintaining housing stock for workforce housing, middle-income individuals, and it talks specifically about us being able to maintain our first-time home buyers to keep young folks here. And at the time the master plan was adopted, there was a sort of a growth in young families, and they anticipated that the young family growth in the town of Riverhead, in fact on Long Island, would continue. Well, that has not continued. And in fact, I think most people understand that young families are leaving left and right. And one of the things that in every single study about young families leaving is the cost of housing. So there is a relief valve, and Mr. Breslin talked about it. It's the Zoning Board of Appeals. The master plan, while it may not be a living, breathing document, it has to be interpreted with the times that are at hand, unlike the Constitution. Sorry. But the master plan has to be interpreted, and you folks have been doing that fairly consistently. As Mr. Breslin said, you cannot have a $160,000 lot and create an affordable house for anybody living first-time home buyer in Long Island. And if you were to take the master plan at face value, every lot has to be 2 acres. And the master plan was put into effect, really, the 2-acre zoning was put into effect to preserve farmland. And the town should have, and I'm guilty, I guess, of not doing this, a small lot ordinance that would have stopped this particular problem in this area. I know, Mr. Barnes, it is something that we had worked on. So I do believe it's in compliance with the master plan, and the only way for us to create an affordability situation for folks to stay here is to have relief from this very large lot ordinance. The third, we spoke about the first. The third is whether the area variance is substantial. Well, Mr. Breslin really covered that. I think that, yes, when you look at the numbers, it's substantial, but when you look at overall the lot sizes in this entire community, in fact, but for 2 subdivisions, both built by Mr. Golfo, who is in the audience today, everything pretty much north, the majority of the lots north of North Wading River Road are smaller, half-acre or smaller, as I think most of the board members understand. So let me talk about fourth element. Will the variance create an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood? Mr. Breslin honed in on several things, but I want to point out this. This is in Suffolk County Groundwater Management 8. In Suffolk County Groundwater Management Zone 8, we're allowed to have 676 gallons of flow for this parcel. With 2 houses on it, we'd only use 600 gallons. So this is in conformance with the Suffolk County Health Department codes. Traffic for 2 houses is not going to be an issue for this neighborhood. So the last thing, and the packet that I handed up really is what I'm here to talk about, and that is a slightly different spin as to whether this was a self-created hardship. You see, the applicant is entitled to rely on the prior decisions of the town and the zoning board when he purchased the property. So in one sense, he purchased the property and he paid what he paid for it, and he made a decision that the property was worth that. But he made that decision knowing what the zoning board of appeals has done to sort of provide relief in these large lot ordinances. So on the front of the package that I gave you actually was a picture of one of the houses he's going to build there, which is quite a stunning house. He built it in my neighborhood. I like it. But if you guys can open to, if you'd like, to case study 1, I want to talk to you about the first time this was done, where a small lot was split. This was a parcel directly across the street from St. John the Baptist Catholic Church, and it was owned by the Romanos. It was a 1-acre parcel known as Section 54, Block 1, Lot 5. This lot was originally in a subdivision during the master plan process. I know because I was involved in it. It did not get the subdivision during the master plan process, and the master plan zoned this to 2 acres. Sometime after that, if you look at the first map I gave you, was tax map from 2005. It's good that I saved these things. 2005, you can see this was a 2-acre parcel. Somehow, by fiat, this was subdivided, not by the zoning board of appeals, but this was subdivided by the planning department, building department. And if you look at the 2012 tax map, you can see that lot 5 is now lot 5.1 and 5.2. So this was actually the first case that of precedent for the town where we have subdivided a parcel that was not in conformance necessarily with the master plan. If we go to case study 2, this was done by Mr. Charles Cuddy. This was done by Dennis McManus, and this was a subdivision at 853 Hulse Landing Road. And what they did, this is the same exact situation as we have here. This was a 2-acre parcel, and Mr. Cuddy brought the application and went through the same thing that we're going through here today. And on July 23rd, 2009, they held a hearing, and actually on July 23rd, 2009, they granted this variance to split a 2-acre lot into 2 1-acre lots with very similar setbacks as we have, because this was this lot was not long and deep. This was a very wide lot. So the next case study is case study 3. This one's a little bit different, but it talks to the character of Wading River. This one was done in 2018. This is the matter of Robert Albinski and Nancy Swank, 80 Park Street, Wading River, and 72 Park Street, Wading River. And what the zoning board did here just recently is you moved a lot line. They were 2 substandard lots. One lot was 0.74 acres, and the other lot was 0.27 acres. So they were both non-conforming, and you made one a little more non-conforming and one a little less non-conforming. Again, to married, the point of bringing these applications up is these applications and the things that the zoning board has done are completely on par with what is the character of the community. And the last case study that I want to show for Wading River is case study 4. And if you go to the last page, it's the tax map number. This application was brought this year. This was the application of Charity Osana on 81 Beach Road in Wading River. And what's really interesting to me about this, if you open the tax map book, if I did what I should have done, I highlighted lot 28.1. Lot 28.1 is the lot that the Zoning Board of Appeals allowed to be split. And the subject parcel, while it's not on this tax map, it really could be on this tax map, and they just ran out of paper. I drew it in on the left-hand side, and this was a very similar situation. It was a property of about half an acre, and you allowed that to be broken up into 2 parcels. So while we understand the nature of a self-created hardship, we also believe that the Zoning Board of Appeals is being the equitable relief valve, has been willing to work with the community to try to keep these lots and keep these communities and neighborhoods looking similar. Because as Mr. Breslin said, this 1 acre lot would stick out as a sore thumb in this particular community. So the last thing that I'll bring up, because I think we really did hit on most of the elements of 267, is that this property is still in the subdivision process at the planning board. And one of the things that the planning board is asking us to do is an analysis of drainage. And we have to submit a topographic map to look at drainage. And there is, the planning board will deal with the drainage. If there are drainage issues, the planning board will deal with those issues as the planning board, as this application moves forward. We're in the very early stages of the application at the planning board because, quite frankly, there's not, you guys are the board of relief here. So if we're not successful here, then we don't want to spend a lot of time in the planning board. But we believe that this is a good application, and we're available to answer any questions, and Mr. Golfo is available too to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, let's see what anyone else has to say. Anyone else out in the audience to be, please step up to the microphone. If you kindly raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Kindly state your name and your address.
My name is Teresa Brogdon. I live at 87 Longview, which is the property adjacent to this property in question, directly to the south. The reason that I'm here tonight is to express vehemently my vehement opposition to this request for a number of reasons. We bought our property at 87 Longview in January of 1998. At that time, when we moved in, our property was completely surrounded on all 3 sides, to the south, to the north, and to the west, by wooded lots. We have Little Flower Children's Services directly behind us, which is to the west. We're directly adjacent to the woods on their campus. To the south of us, which is now 81 Longview, it used to be a drainage basin that was owned by Riverhead Town, and that was subsequently sold by the town, and actually I believe it was to Mr. Golfo, and he built a house on it, and it created a drainage problem in the neighborhood that we never had prior to that because of that drainage basin that had been there. To my recollection, I don't have the exact figures, but from what I recall, the town ended up spending about 3 times as much as they sold that property for to correct the drainage problem and install a drainage system. That still has not alleviated the drainage problem on that block. My neighbor that actually lives there at 81 is in the audience tonight as well, and we were speaking prior to the meeting. He said at least 3 times a year. That's still an issue. So it's alleviated some of the problem, but not its entirety. So my fear is not only lot size, because we moved into this property with the expectation, because of the way it was zoned, we moved in because of the nature surrounding us and the privacy surrounding us, and then slowly but surely we had the property to the south. The deed had changed, and now we have a neighbor that we didn't move in with the expectation of, and now we're looking at having a neighbor on the other side that we never had the expectation of, and we've been there for 20 years. And the drainage problem greatly concerns us as well. As far as the hardship, I just want to address my thoughts on that it is a self-created hardship because you know, Mr. Golfo seems to have entered into this, with the expectation that this board would, grant him relief, which I find egregious, because it doesn't take into account the people that live on the block, just with the expectation that because of who he is, he's going to, be granted relief, because, you know, what he's done in the town. But, as somebody who's lived in that spot for 20 years, and I've watched things build up around me, you know, which was not in the zoning, you know, law, you know, I'm just very disappointed in how this may go. So I
Ma'am?
just wanted to express that.
You live on Longview Drive next to the subject parcel?
That's correct.
What, you're directly to the south?
Directly to the south, yes.
And what are the dimensions of your property?
I'm sorry?
The dimensions of your property lines, what are
It's
they?
about 3/4 of an acre.
Are they about, I mean, what, do you know offhand what they are?
No, I don't have that.
3/4 of an acre, they are?
Approximately, yes.
I wish I had a magnifying glass, because I'm looking at the southerly property here, and it's got the property dimensions listed, but my vision is really bad, and I can't read it. If anybody could read that to me, I'd appreciate it. Right here, this is her property, right here.
Again, my objection to it, though, isn't so much of the property size, but it is more, because when we moved in, we had the expectation that never would be built, and that we would always be surrounded by wooded lots, because that's how it was when, you know, things were zoned when we moved in. But also the drainage problem that was created when that other piece of property at 81 Longview was sold, and the problem that was created that still has not been fully alleviated by the town. And myself and my neighbors feel that this will also continue to exacerbate that existing problem. That was never a problem when it was a drainage basin at 81 Longview.
You know, we're currently looking up on GIS the dimensions of your property. But I'm looking at the subject parcel, and I'm looking at yours directly south, and it looks relatively the same size.
Okay, and again, that's not my issue. My issue is that we bought there with the expectation that it was deeded to be, we were deeded to be surrounded by wooded lots, and also we had a drainage basin that is no longer on that block, and it's created a drainage problem. And that issue has not been fully addressed. Every time it rains, I would invite you to come to, see that road every time it rains.
Have you ever reported that to the town?
Actually, Charles at 81 Longview has, because his is the property that was built on where that drainage basin was, and it comes all the way up to his property and floods, and there's debris. In fact, there's debris, even with the drain, there's debris there right now. I know that he calls, because it's right in front of his property, he calls the highway department, you know, a few times a year to have them take care of that. And
I mean, according to this property tax map, the subject parcel, after it's divided into two, is still bigger than most of the properties on Longview.
Says 0.47 acres on GIS, town GIS.
So you're 0.47 acres, not 3/4 of an acre?
okay,
And, the subject parcels would be 100 by 240, 248, which would be approximately, 40,000 approximately is an acre.
okay. I guess I'm not understanding how that's addressing the drainage issue.
Well, they're here for, the size of the lots, they're not here for drainage, you know?
Seems like the drainage problem is really a main concern, correct?
That, and the fact that when we bought this particular piece of property, everything around us was deeded to be wooded lots. We bought with that expectation of privacy and nature, and
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean, the deeded wooded lots.
the deed for 81 Longview was deeded to remain a drainage basin for the neighborhood.
Oh, okay, well,
The town board actually did change that deed.
But that's south of you, right?
Right, but what has happened is it's created a problem in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I live at the end of Emmett's Lane, and above us, the town sold that piece of property too. And it just is a flood. I understand what you're saying about that.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, because, we have a serious problem with water too. I can understand
So
that.
I'm
I don't
just,
know why they do this.
yeah, but I'm
instead
just
of
hoping that
rectifying
if I
it.
can help stop it here before it goes any further.
Well,
You know, because
Well-
again, like I said, when we moved in, we had the expectation that it couldn't be built. So, you know, I feel that Mr. Golfo does have a self-created hardship, because he knew what the zoning law was, and he came into this with the expectation that the board would just grant him relief, and I find that egregious, because, you know, what about the little people that actually live on the block and that pay taxes, and, you know, it's gonna be my tax dollars that go to alleviate that drainage problem down the road, and,
Yeah,
you know,
I
I didn't
just-
sign up
just-
for that.
Ma'am, just so you know, I'm a member of the zoning board for 8 and a half years. I have a problem with denying an application when the next door property has the same exact thing that this applicant is looking for. You have the same exact, basically for all intents and purposes, the same size property that this applicant is looking to do. So how, you know, as a member of a zoning board, how do I deny them when you have the same thing, next door, right next door?
I've never asked for a variance for anything. I wouldn't be looking to build a shed, you know, right on the edge of their property.
There's
and-
over, you know, they testified that over 14 properties have the same, same size. Your property has the same size. I'm looking at the property tax map, and the subject parcel is probably twice the size of most of the properties in that area. You know, I'm just letting you know what I'm thinking, that's all.
Did you say that the lot, the subject lot is not built, you didn't think that this subject lot was not buildable?
Correct,
You thought there would never be a house on there?
that is correct.
Even though it's an acre in size?
There's a house on that, well, what used to be, I guess it's split now and owned by
Okay.
somebody else,
There's
but
okay.
I've been there, you know,
It's not
since.
completely vacant, I understand.
Well, you know, the drainage problem, you talked about a neighbor and everything. The way to get that solved, unfortunately, is have somebody come to town board meeting, every town board meeting, somebody different, and complain about that drainage problem. You know what? Hopefully that would get solved, cause that is not, really is.
Hasn't got solved on Emmett's Lane, so.
Yeah, well.
I empathize with her on that part, but again, the, properties are pretty much the same down there as far as.
One says he is pretty accurate.
Well, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to be heard? Please, step up. Sir, if you kindly raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And if you kindly state your name and your address.
My name is Charles Tremontana, and I live at 81 Longview Drive.
Could you spell your last name for my secretary?
Tramontana.
Thank you.
I didn't come here tonight to address the board. I came in because I was just curious as to what the board was going to do. I have no objection to homes being built on that property. I did have a very serious drainage problem. First, let me thank the board, because the board gave a grievance so that my house could be built, okay? It's approximately a half acre, okay? So I thank the board for that. I've been there 20 years, and it's wonderful. We do have, or we did have, a very serious drainage problem, which was addressed by Mr. Kosikovich when he was the supervisor. And he had about 12 of these, I don't know what you call them, concrete
Drain,
things,
yeah, drains.
put into the street. They also was a house on Cliff Road, which was always flooded, and they sold the house for $1. They made a sump out of that. And all this water is directed into the sump. When it rains very heavily, the street gets flooded because the catch basins cannot accept all that water at one time, okay? So from time to time, we do get flooded. I don't know how you can alleviate this problem, I really don't know. I have 3 catch basins in front of my house and 2 across the street. So I don't know what more can be done to alleviate this situation. I don't mind living with 2 or 3 floods a year, okay? I don't mind that. If there's some way to correct that, I'd be in favor of it. But I'm not really complaining. My only complaint, and it's not directed to this board, and I have to say that the superintendent of highways, Mr. Woodson, has been very cooperative with me, because every time we get a heavy rain, all the debris comes down to my catch basin. We are the lowest point on that block. So from time to time, I have called Mr. Woodson, and he has sent a crew to clean up all the debris. In my younger days, I used to do it. I can no longer do it. Getting on in years. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Okay?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else to be heard?
You want me to address any, there were,
Well, that's up to you, counsel.
my client did not build, 81 Longview, that was one of the things that was mentioned. The parcel is vacant, and the town code does require us to maintain our own water, or Mr. Golfo to maintain its own water, his
On
own
his
water.
property.
On his property, and he will do that. And, as I said, the site plan, or the subdivision, one of the requirements of the subdivision is to submit a topographic map, to talk about drainage on the parcel, and I dare say, maybe a little bit further on, to help alleviate some of the water that's coming down the road heading towards 81. So actually, if Mr. Golfo builds these 2 houses and the planning board requires drainage to be put in the road at Mr. Golfo's expense, this project is actually gonna alleviate some of the problems that they're facing downstream. So we don't have anything else unless you have any other questions. We could ask you to close the hearing. Thank you, sir.
So you wanna close, we'll do a, okay. Anyone else to be heard? Nobody?
The prior decision that was done in 99. Does that mean anything? I don't know, I don't know if you read it.
Look at the property tax map, you know?
And it's the 99 decision. So back then, they had 40,000 square foot lots. And now we have 80,000 square foot lots, so does that affect us legally in any way?
Well, the criteria is still the same,
Right.
so, you know, we have to look at the surrounding neighborhoods.
I mean, they had their reasons back then,
Right.
but we have different reasons today, but I'm not sure.
We can talk about that, doing the decision.
I think that's necessary to protect ourselves. That's all.
All right, so we're gonna close the hearing, we're gonna have a reserved decision on December 10th, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
13th? I thought you told me the 10th before.
That was January.
January?
No,
No.
December 13th.
Really throwing me off. December
Roll, so.
13th.
Do I hear a second?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so we'll have a decision for you on the next meeting. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll have a closed meeting,
Gonna go into executive
executive session.
discuss litigation relating to Overlook Drive LLC.
Now?
Yes.
All right.
We have an executive session? For what?
For Overlook